Howard Mann, creator of Conscious Shifting, and welcome to Conscious Shifting. Before we get started, a quick warning and disclaimer. Conscious shifting and all known side effects will improve your physical, mental, and spiritual health while providing the ideal environment for spiritual awakening, helping you live the life of your dreams and influence the world in a positive way. So, if that's something that interests you, you'd like to be a part of it, then follow us on Facebook or subscribe on YouTube. And then join us here Wednesday nights, 6 p.m. California time for Conscious Shifting. The best way to communicate with us is through our daily thought provoking posts during a live or a replay of a live. Simply place your question in the comment box and we will respond from a spiritual perspective to the benefit of all. And with that, let's go ahead and get in the right frame of mind. So, everybody take a deep breath way down to the belly button and relax. And another big deep breath. And relax. And one more time, big deep breath. And relax. All right. I see Kathy and I see Kim. Thank you for sharing. So, I get questions all the time, different aspects of health. And a lot of times it's, you know, what's the right mindset for good health? That kind of stuff. Or trying to understand some of the things that I've said or you've seen in posts on the page that deal with our thoughts and how we kind of look at our health. So that's what tonight's live is about: perception, health, and healing. Perception has far more to do with health than most people realize. Depending on which expert you listen to, somewhere between 95 and 98% of the population have perfectly functioning genes. So, what that means is that somewhere between 2 and 5% of people have a malfunctioning gene in their genetic makeup, otherwise known as a congenital disability. As for the rest of their biology and the entire biology of everybody else, the other 95 to 98% of the population, there's no problem. So, what then accounts for health problems and disease? If your biology is functioning correctly, you should live to be a ripe old age and in perfect health. By definition, you should have ideal body weight, optimum bone, muscle, and organ function. Again, by definition, you should be happy, healthy, and disease free. And yet, there's rampant poor health, both mentally and physically. So, what are we doing to wreck our health? What's going on here? For starters, there are the basics. You know this stuff. But each of your 50 to perhaps as many as 100 trillion cells are replaced every year. So you can be biologically younger and stronger next year, or you can be older and weaker, depending on 5 basic requirements or ingredients. One is nutrition. Just eat a healthy diet. It doesn't have to be perfect. Just try to make wise choices the vast majority of the time. The second thing is hydration. Drink plenty of clean water. 3, exercise. Regular and adequate exercise. Sleep. You need the proper amount of sleep. And 5 is stress management. Those 5 things are the fountain of youth. They will work wonders. They will add at least 20 years on to your life in good health if you pay a reasonable amount, a significant amount of attention to them. But beyond that, hi Scott, how you doing? We'll see if we can do something about that. It's a good live to come into for that then. So let's say that you have a healthy body and you have all the ingredients for proper health and maintenance. You're doing everything right. And you also avoid things that are destructive to your health for the most part. I mean, everybody likes a Krispy Kreme once in a while, but for the most part, you got your diet, your hydration, your exercise, your sleep, and your stress management down. So assuming all your cells are healthy and working correctly, what would cause healthy cells to malfunction? Because that's really what ill health and disease are. It's some sort of malfunction. It's an imbalance. It's manifesting as health issues or disease in your life, but it really boils down to an imbalance or something along those lines. The human body senses information, energy, and the information that energy carries through our sensory receptors: eyes, ears, nose, mouth, and skin. And although your cells have very different receptors than your body, they read their environment similarly. However, most cells do not have direct contact outside the body. Instead, their environment is within the body. So here's how it works, simplified. Your body receives information through your five senses. Your brain interprets or perceives what's happening and sends a message, a signal down your nervous system to all of your cells. Your cells receive that message and then interpret or perceive what the message means and respond accordingly. So, hey Trey, how you doing? Therefore, if your cells are healthy and functioning correctly and have the essential ingredients they need, the problem is with the information they're receiving. So let's focus on that. Let's just assume that we're not talking about the 2% of the population that have some malfunctioning gene. That's something a doctor needs to deal with. Let's say that we're talking about the rest of their biology and the entire biology of the rest of the population, 98% of the population. So you got healthy functioning genes, which should mean a healthy body. Let's also assume that, like we briefly went over, the diet and exercise, all that's reasonable. So what could be the problem then? The information that the cells are receiving. And how can they receive? Hi, Amy. How can they receive bad information? How does that work? There's actually three ways. One is trauma. So, in other words, there's been some kind of physical damage, perhaps from an accident of some kind, and consequently, the nerves either send phantom messages or no messages at all. Now, this only happens when there's been physical damage to the body, the nerves in particular, and interrupts that they've been torn or destroyed in some way. And so the nerves don't function properly. Or other parts of the body. And so there's an interference with the signal. It may be getting sent, in other words, but it doesn't get there. A phantom signal is sent instead because the nerves are malfunctioning and firing off random signals, or they're just torn and nothing's going through, no communication at all. So one is trauma. The second one is chemical. Drugs and poisons are going to alter or block messages. That's the way medicines work. If you have a headache and you take something for headache medication, what it's doing is it's going in there and it's blocking that pain signal from telling you that you have a headache, or anything else in the body for that matter. Painkillers interfere with the normal signals that are being sent because the body perceives, hi Chris, the body perceives inflammation and pain, sends that signal out, and you feel pain. That's how you perceive inflammation in various areas of the body. So the medicines that are designed for pain management interfere with that signal. But all drugs interfere with something. It's just a matter of what they interfere with. So you could have trauma, physical damage, or you could have some kind of drug interference. Could be a poison, could be a recreational drug, could be a medicine. Now, assuming that it's not physical trauma, assuming that there's not some damage, you haven't been in an accident and had stuff all smashed up and destroyed, where there's physical reasons why the signals wouldn't be getting through, or that you're on some kind of medication or some kind of drugs, or you've been poisoned in some way. Assuming that those aren't the case, what's left? There's only one, and that is the wrong message. In other words, the message sent is inappropriate for the situation. And this gets to the heart of the situation, the heart of the conversation for tonight, the point that I want to make. I use this extensively. As most of you know, I'm a cancer survivor. I've had nerve damage, spinal damage. I'm partially paralyzed, but I've been able to heal from all of that, mostly all of it. And so you can use the signals, your perception, as a method of healing, but it's also a method of making you sick. And that's what I'm getting at here. That the wrong information is what's causing those cells to malfunction, even causing your genes to do something different than they would do in a healthy state. So over 95% of the time, if a malfunctioning cell causes ill health, disability, or disease, and it isn't because of physical damage or chemical interference, it is because of an inappropriate message. So practically all ill health is caused by wrong information, and this is where it gets most interesting. Accurate perception sends an appropriate signal to the cells, but false perception sends an inappropriate message to the cells. And where is perception determined? Perception is selected in the brain. Chris likes this. So your thoughts are nearly always responsible for your physical health. The same can be said for your mental health, because your mental state is based on your thoughts and emotions. Your emotions are your body's response to your thoughts. So what's the basis of your thoughts? Your beliefs. Bingo. That's what you need to address when it comes to your health. Aside from proper diet, exercise, the right amount of sleep, stress management, not abusing substances, and trying to avoid accidents in which your body is going to be damaged. 99% of your health has to do with this thing. But it really, at the core, is about what you believe, because your thoughts are based on your beliefs and your emotions are based on your thoughts. And between your thoughts and emotions, your physical and mental health are determined. Almost always. There are a few exceptions, rare. So, have you ever heard of the placebo effect? You always have my prayers, Amy. Have you ever heard of the placebo effect? There's been a lot of scientific research into this phenomenon. And the way this works, time and time again, every time they've done it, is that somebody who is presented as a health expert gives patients a sugar pill, but tells them that it's a marvelous cure. And time again, the results are that most of the people in the study show an improvement in their condition, and some are completely cured off a sugar pill. The placebo effect demonstrates the amazing power of the mind. The belief that something will work is the most potent medicine that there is. For example, children, they fall and scrape themselves up and they're crying and they're hysterical and you can't calm them down. But they believe that a kiss or a band-aid, like magic, will make the boo-boo all better. Well, it's the same with adults. Experts vary between 15 and 72% of a drug's effectiveness is the placebo effect. In other words, up to 72% of the drug's ability to do something for you is your belief that it has the power to do something for you. There's plenty of documented cases. Chris says, oops, let me scroll back down. Hi, Katja. Chris says, I always say that I never get sick. I drink after my daughter's accidentally a couple of weeks ago when she had the flu, didn't catch it. And that's because of your beliefs. It's hard for a lot of people that don't do this on a regular basis to understand it, much less believe it. And that's the problem. You really have to believe it. And so you have to start off small and work your way up. But you can get to a point where if you're now, I mean, you have a journey, so don't get the wrong idea. It's not like you're going to override your journey. When you came into this life, you have a date where you're going to step out. Nothing's going to stop that. You can speed it up, but you can't slow it down. And there's certain things that you're going to go through. It's part of the reason that you're here. There's reasons why you will go through it. But what I'm saying is that an overwhelming amount of the time, you have far more control than you ever believed was possible. And in many instances, you can prevent yourself from getting sick. Mother Teresa went into leper colonies and helped, and she never got leprosy. How exactly did that happen? Because she believed accurately, in fact, that she was doing God's work and that she would be protected. And she was. Leprosy. She was going into leper colony. They used to take people with leprosy and they would send them off on an island or out to some isolated area to keep them away from the populations because they didn't know how to stop it. And it was highly contagious and it was a horrific disease. She went right into the colonies and helped these people daily. Never got it. Hi, Alma. Welcome. So there's plenty of documented cases of people who've been on their deathbeds, people whom doctors have given up on, people with advanced terminal illness. And yet, despite being told that there's no hope of recovery and death is imminent, many have had a sudden remission. Even more impressive, for some, the disease completely and permanently disappeared. And I'm talking things like cancer. In these cases, the change in their health came when there was a change in their perception of their health. And these are often called miracle healings because there's no medical, scientific, or rational, according to the world, way of explaining it. So they call it, the buzzword is recession or sudden remission. When you hear the word sudden remission, that means they didn't expect that to happen. That's why it was suddenly there was this remission. What they're talking about in code language, in medical code language, is a miracle healing. Some of them will actually call it that. They'll just say, you're a miracle. We have no explanation for this, but enjoy it because it doesn't happen to everybody. But strong belief can be strong medicine because your perception tells your cells what reality is. And your cells act accordingly. It's really that simple. Trey says 20 plus years in healthcare and I rarely got sick. I believed in the strength of my immune system. There you go. And there's a thing about that. There's some truth to that because even just in a intellectual understanding of the situation, if you're subjecting yourself to different diseases on a regular basis, you do build up one hell of an immune system. It's just that's how your immune system works. It's by exposure to things, and then over time, it figures out how to deal with them, and so you're resistant to those diseases. Trey, you receive what you believe. There you go, Chris. Your body follows what your mind believes, and your soul feels. There you go. That's how it works. Now, this is hard for people, but and they may intellectually understand that there are these sudden remissions or miracle healings, but they don't really believe that it's something going on a spiritual level. And so it doesn't work for them because their belief is that it's some fluke that they don't understand, they can't explain, but it's just a fluke. There's nothing more to it than that. And so they create a block to the spiritual knowledge of health. They block themselves from being able to believe in a higher reality that would produce better health for them. Elaborate on, if you could give me something specific, I will. And I'm going to finish this up, but if there's something specific, let me know and I'll go into that. So another example of the power of the mind is MPD, people with multiple personality disorders. Now, that sounds a little strange to talk about in terms of health because that's not thought of as a good health trait. But the point is that people with multiple personality disorder have different personalities that switch back and forth. Now, they really don't have any or very little control over this. But the thing is that their belief in these personalities is 100%. And that's what I want to discuss with regards to them because it affects much more than their personality. In severe cases, they're not only wholly other people in the same body, their biology changes to reflect it. Facial muscles, for example, can tense, creating a different looking person. And so they're similar looking, but they look like a different person. You would mistake them for someone else because the muscles are doing something completely different in this when this other personality is dominant. So it creates a different looking face. Handwriting can change. Artistic talents and language. Vision changes to the point of needing glasses or becoming colorblind, developing a lazy eye. Even eye color changes. Seizures, eating disorders, allergies with reactions including hives and blisters quickly come and go with the switching personalities. Even scars, in a few cases, have been known to appear and disappear. Now, hi, Bush. Yes, exactly. So an interesting problem occurs with people with multiple personality disorder with regards to their medications because the same person with one personality can be sensitive to drugs and another personality hardly react at all. Same person. So their biology is changing according to the personality that's dominant. For example, a tranquilizer might sedate one character and have no effect on the other one, or very little. An adult with a child's personality may require a different dose because they may react differently when the child's personality is dominant. Your mind is potent. You'll manifest disease with unhealthy thoughts, and you can heal disease with healthy thoughts. Your beliefs determine your perception. Your perception determines what information via your thoughts is going to your cells, and your cells react accordingly. So your mind has the power to change your biology. It's just that simple. Now, at this point, you may be, yes, it was. Sybil was an extreme case. So you may be wondering, okay, well then what role does your genealogy play in all this? Your genes do determine your physical features. In some cases, and here's what's left out of that. Usually the conversation stops there. It's just left like your biology is just nothing more than a slave to your genes. That's not the case at all. In some cases, a single gene can express 1,000 different traits. Now, here's the thing. Which features are dominant depends on which characteristics the gene expresses. But genes don't communicate with the outside world. They only communicate within your body. They respond to signals within the body. Your brain primarily controls those signals. Some are thought energy, some are glands. It tells glands to release certain chemicals, this kind of stuff. But it is primarily the brain that is responsible for these various signals that the genes receive. And yes, these signals are subject to change. You think different thoughts, your brain's going to send out different energetic commands. So perception determines your reality, your life experience, your mental and your physical health to a colossal extent. However, while your perception may control your life, you control your perception. That is, when you perceive consciously, you have to be aware of what's going on. You can't just run on autopilot, because then whatever the beliefs are, that's what's going to get manifested. So you have to be a little higher consciousness. You have to practice awareness. But your beliefs determine your perceptions and create your thoughts. And through the power of the mind, you can consciously choose. When you're conscious, you can consciously choose which thoughts to pay attention to and which thoughts to act upon. So how you select alters reality. In other words, let's say that you have a belief down in your subconscious and it throws up a thought. Now, if you're aware of what's going on in the moment, you don't just randomly act on the thought, do whatever the thought is, blurt out whatever, the thought tells you to say. If you're actually, and this is one of the benefits of meditation, when you sit and you observe, because then you learn to observe all these phenomenons of the body. You don't identify with them as if they're you, and you have no choice in the matter. Oh, it's just the way I am. Oh, it's just the way the world is. Nonsense. It is if you believe it to be so. But you don't have to. That's what I'm saying. So you learn the skill of observation, and when these thoughts come up, you just glance at them, and it's either something that you want to manifest into reality or it's not. If you don't want to manifest being sick, then don't entertain thoughts that you're getting sick. If you're sick and you want to get better, don't manifest any other thoughts other than I'm healing. You see the different present tense too. I'm healing, not I'm going to heal someday. It would be a nice thing. Maybe, hopefully, if this medication works or if I ever get to the right doctor. No, I'm healing. That's how you do it. But it starts with that awareness, and then you choose which thoughts to entertain. Oh, I'm so hurt. That person really did me dirty. Maybe they did. You get really good at this, and you're human, right? So you're going to experience things as a human, but you don't have to respond or react that way. You can go, yeah, that was messed up. On a human level of things, that hurts. But it, on a spiritual level, it wasn't them doing it, and it wasn't me that it was about. Only on an egotistical level, where there's me and you, and we can screw each other over and say mean things, and it's really we take it personally because it's about the person. No, it isn't. Not at all. That's a lie. That's a false belief. We're all one spirit. There is no me and you. We're one entity playing different roles here. When you realize that, then it's not the spirit that's doing those things, and it's not it's not doing it to itself. What's going on is there's these false beliefs that this separation occurred between us and from God, and we're these separate mind bodies interacting with other mind bodies, and we can say mean things and hurt the other person because, oh my God, what if it's true? It's not true. It's a lie. You see how strong your alternate thought can be? And I'm not saying it because I wish it to be so, or it's something I've conjured up as a form of self-defense. I know it to be a reality because I experience it and I live it every day. Beating cancer, I did have doctors helping me, but it was no accident that it wasn't meant for me to have cancer and die at that time. The reason I walk now is because I've reprogrammed damaged nerves. And this goes beyond even beliefs. This is actually repairing physical damage to the body that doctors can't repair with nothing more than the thoughts that I send out through my central nervous system in my body. And I've explained this to the doctors, and they're amazed. They see what's going on. They don't have an explanation for it. And I explain it to them, and they kind of get it. But you can see it in their eyes. It's like, you mean there's more than the physical world? There's more than physical medicine? There's this whole spiritual explanation for all of this, and there's other possibilities? Hell yes. That's exactly what I'm saying, and I live it. And so there's no doubt in my mind. I've experienced it, and you can too. You might have to start small. Maybe, just start with some minor stuff, your pain. If you've been injured and you're in pain, start with the idea that the pain's not as bad as what you think it is. That if you focus on the pain, you're putting energy into the pain, and you're increasing the level of pain that you're feeling. By understanding that, you can put less attention on the pain, and you'll experience less pain. And that'll start to make a believer out of you. You go, wow, you know what? There's something to this. And maybe if you get, dumped or whatever, you might not be able to just blow it off, but what you can do is, instead of saying, I'm flawed, I'm worthless, I'm unlovable, nobody would want to be with me. Oh, I don't ever want to, interact with anybody again. I'm afraid it'll happen again, or any of this kind of stuff. Just say, well, that's unfortunate that that person was damaged to the point to where they would do that to another human being, because that's what it is. They're projecting their pain onto somebody else. Has nothing to do with you. You know, I mean, it might not have been a great fit for a lot of reasons to begin with, but nobody in their right mind would intentionally hurt somebody else. They wouldn't. So that's the point. They're not in their right mind. They're not, they're not spiritually conscious at all. You can't hate somebody. You can't wish harm to somebody if you're spiritually conscious, really, truly spiritually conscious, because those are egotistical views. That's identified with the physical realm and the mind body. So all these topics we talk about, if you've been following us for any period of time at all, or you can go to the page and just click on live. Same with YouTube, and a bunch of them will show up. I don't know, there's 40 something of them in there on YouTube now, and I don't even know how many on Facebook on all these different topics. And now watch some of those, pick one that you resonate with and watch them. And as you're watching them, keep in mind what I've been talking about during this live. And you'll start to connect the dots and see how this fits. Every single one of these lives is a different piece of the puzzle. It's a different aspect designed to remind you of what you already know, but you've forgotten it, or you don't believe it to be the case because you're too damaged by this world, or you've identified with this world for whatever reason. And I'm reminding you of what you know to be the truth. And you'll have little aha moments, and you'll see the light, and you can start incorporating that into your life. And as you do that, your life will start improving, and your spiritual beliefs will start getting stronger. And as you awaken spiritually, more will be revealed to you, and you'll get to a point where you'll be preaching to me, because you'll be connected to spirit in such a way that the information will just flow through you. You won't have to be reminded of anything. So that's your future. The only thing you have to decide is, when is that going to be? And the sooner you start, and the more open-minded and open-hearted you are towards it, the faster it'll happen for you. All right. And you can always ask questions. Always ask questions. All right. Let's see what questions came up here. And then we'll finish this up, and then we'll do a little healing circle. Chris says your body follows what your mind believes and your soul feels. That's right. Oh, okay. I backed up a little too far, I think. Trey says that Dr. Internet hurts more than helps for a lot of people. There's a lot of truth in that. Just because somebody on the internet says something doesn't make it so. In fact, for that matter, just because some representative from the government or somebody on the news or some expert says something doesn't make it so. I mean, how often are the experts shocked at the results of something? Well, how expert could they be if they're surprised by the very thing that they're supposed to be experts in? That, by definition, is at the very least a limited amount of knowledge. One of the things that you can look for is that, and this is how I determine who really has some expertise. When you really understand something, you can make predictions. Now, you don't see me sitting around prophesizing or any of this kind of stuff. It's for a lot of reasons. We could talk about that some night. But the point is that when you really understand something, you can make predictions. I can tell you, for example, certain spiritual truths. And if you do things a certain way, or you look at things from a certain point of view, what the result in your life is going to be. And you can put that into practice in your life, and it'll work for you. And that's what I'm suggesting. When you hear something, If it if you think there's something to it, go ahead and try it a little bit. Be careful. Don't go, too far in, but try it a little bit and see how it works. If it doesn't work, there's something wrong. But anybody can say anything. It doesn't make it so. And, there's a lot of agreements in the world on things that are absolutely incorrect. Absolutely. Dead wrong. And yet the majority of the people will go around saying that this is the way it is. It's not. No matter how many times they repeat it, it's not going to make it so. A lot of people may believe it and they may live their life accordingly. And that explains the world a lot, doesn't it? But it doesn't make it so. When people start operating with higher realities and higher truths, you're going to see the world straighten out. So the proof is in the pudding, what I'm saying, Chris says stem cell researcher Bruce Lipton talks about this, and it opened him up to the spiritual world when he discovered this. He's actually the first one that I've ever heard, and I believe that he kind of discovered the whole idea of epigenetics, and that is that your beliefs affect your genealogy, and that your genes don't actually do what everybody had, and still in many schools and colleges teach that the genes determine things. They don't determine anything. They're basically just a set of plans. They have to be read and interpreted by a contractor, if you will. I was in construction, so this makes sense to me. You have this set of plans, and all the details to the building are in the plans, but the plans aren't going to build the building. You need a contractor, and the contractor has to understand what the blueprints say, and they have to interpret the situation and maybe modify some things, and then they build the building. It's the same with your genes. Your cells are the contractors, is what I'm saying. And they're getting a lot of their information from you and what you believe. The thoughts, energy that you send down to them is like we see light and we hear sounds. Well, cells are inside the body, so they only know what you're telling them. That's it. Their reality is what you make it. Their entire universe is what you conjure up in your mind. They just act accordingly. You tell them that you have blue eyes, you have blue eyes. You tell them that you have brown eyes, you have brown eyes. They don't know. It's just like a bunch of switches. That's what Dr. Lipton discovered. There's like these switches, and something's flipping these switches, and he figured out that it wasn't anything other than for the most part than your brain. You're flipping the switches on these genes. Kim says you can't just say it, you have to live it as well. That's it. And that's how spirituality is. You can grasp it, you can kind of understand it on an intellectual level, but until you become it, it doesn't start manifesting that way. You can say, oh, unconditional love, oh, we're all one, and but do you live it? Are you kind to everybody no matter what they do? I mean, it doesn't mean condone inappropriate and hurtful behavior, but are you kind? Do you ever, tell somebody off or say you hate them or wish them harm? Because that's not living a spiritual life. That's not living unconditional love. Unconditional love is just that, unconditional. And that's the consciousness of God. And when you're connected to it, that's the consciousness you'll have. And everything else is just damage from this world, emotional trauma manifesting as such. But it's not the truth. It's a lie, but people believe it, and so they live it, and they project it onto other people. Abdush believes in our universe. Yes. The universe is basically set up to say, and so it is. Whatever you believe, the universe is just going to say, and so it is. It's going to be very accommodating in that way. Kim says the toothache is like that. Yeah, you can have a lot less pain if you don't focus on it. Not resist it, because that's also putting energy into it. Yeah, you have an infection in there and it gets uncomfortable, but if that's all you're thinking about, you can just turn it into this huge thing, a lot bigger than it really is. Most of the time, what I found is that about 75% of pain is psychological. About 25% of it is actual physical damage and irritation. But if you take the psychological element out of it, you may still feel something, but it's not this overwhelming, incapacitating thing that it was. And almost in an instant, it changes if you look at it differently. Trey says, ego roaring its head. There you go. That's right. Adush says, you're right, and what's right is obvious. It is, but it is quite obvious. We are it, so we have knowledge of it. But a lot of people have adopted some falsehoods. They believe lies, and so it skews what they actually know to be the case. And they actually live a false life, and that's why they have the problems that they do, and that's why the world, frankly, has the problems that it has. Trey, I need a lot of repetition. Yeah. Most of us do. We roll that way. That's the reason for mantras. You just keep saying it until you get it. She says, I'm seeing such a surge in buying into MLMs. No offense to anyone. I'm not good with abbreviations. I'm not sure what that is. So, hey, Mary, how's it going? Oh, multi-level marketing. Yeah. It's a way to bring products onto the market. If it's set up right, it actually works well, but there can be some problems with it, and there's a lot of shenanigans that go on with a lot of them too. It's kind of like government. You can have a good system of government, but if you have corrupted people, they get into the government, they corrupt the system. So it's not the system that's the problem. It's the corrupt individuals that are in it that are causing the problems. And it's the same with the multi-level marketing. It can work well if it's clean and honest, if it's built in a fair way, and it's marketing a quality. Hey, Ray. Yeah, this hacking stuff gets frustrating, but what can you do? There's people that they think that that's uh, cool, that makes them look smart, that they're able to do that, and a lot of them, that's all it is. Some of them, they're trying to get some personal information for financial gain, but some of them is just to prove that they can do it. It's unfortunate. It's dishonest, and that's not spiritual. That's not spiritual at all. All right, so your beliefs determine your perception and create your thoughts. And through the power of the mind, you can consciously choose which thoughts to pay attention to and which thoughts to act upon. And how you choose alters reality, including your mental and physical health. So, to put it mildly, the power of the mind is astonishing, especially when we learn how to use it. So, anyway, that's it for perception, health, and healing. Let's move on to a healing circle for those of you that are interested. See what we can do here, kind of make it fit somehow. There we go. Okay, everybody gather around, join hands, form a circle and join hands. Gently close your eyes and your mouths, breathing through the nose down to an area just below the belly button, and then exhaling back out through the nose. Another deep breath way down. Inhale peace, and then exhale all tension. Inhale peace, and exhale all troublesome thoughts, all conflict, all disease. Inhale peace, and exhale any remaining tension. Okay, continue breathing on your own, and then settle into the relaxation that comes over you. Just let it happen. Life is about action and non-action. Do nothing and nothing changes. So if we desire change, we need to do something, at least something differently than we're doing. So how can we do something and know that it's the best choice? Well, we'll talk about spirituality as time goes on and how to identify with that. Is it for the greater good? Is it based on unconditional love? This kind of stuff. But there's a little exercise that you can use. So let's do that for the healing circle tonight. It's an exercise in decision making. It can be which belief to believe, which belief to act on, a life decision. You can use it for any time you have to make a decision. So what you do is you visualize a fork in the road, and down each leg of the fork is an alternate future based on a choice that you could make. So if you have to choose between this and that, down the left side of the fork is this, and down the right side of the fork is that. Then take one of those legs and just mentally, consciously move down that and visualize how your life would be if you chose that as an option. And make it as detailed as you can. Use sight, sound, touch, taste, smell. Make it as realistic as possible. And then see yourself living that, and then take a look at it. As an observer, just look at it. How would your life be different? How does it feel? Is it better? If you were in that situation with all of it like that, doing those things, and you think about everyone else and everything else in your life, would you have any regrets? Or is it more how you desire your life to be? And then you can ask yourself, is it for the greater good? In other words, maybe this would mean more money, but it would mean an unhealthy lifestyle or being involved in something that's detrimental to society or your family, this kind of stuff. So is it for the greater good? Is everybody involved coming out better than they went in? And then just kind of live this life for a moment in your mind. Now back up, consciously back up to the fork in the road, and then now go down the other one, the other choice, the other option that you have. And visualize your life as that, as if you had made that decision and were living it. Make it as detailed as you can. Use sight, sound, touch, taste, smell. Make it as realistic as possible. And then see how your life would be different and how it would feel. Is it better? Or are there some aspects of it that you wouldn't like and you would regret having made that decision? Is it more how you desire your life to be or less? Is it for the greater good? Or is it more a few people, special interest, or maybe just yourself coming up at other people's expense? So live this life for a new moment, for a while, a moment, all the aspects of it as realistically as you can. And now back up to the fork in the road again. And looking at those two options, which is the best choice? Which one makes the most sense? And when you have decided, then you've made your choice. You know what to do. And so you've kind of lived each one of these options without actually doing so. But, the imagination's pretty creative and pretty powerful, but you want to make it as realistic as possible when you do this, and you'll get the best results. But it's a little trick, you know. Think of all the aspects, everything that would change if you made this decision or that decision, and then live it for a little bit in as much detail as possible, and you'll come to a decision. And so if you're ever feeling, confused or overwhelmed, you can do that. Do that little exercise and it'll help you out. Now, let's get back to the healing circle. Still holding hands. Do you feel the energy flowing in the healing circle? What sensations do you have when we're sitting here in the healing circle? Is the energy expanding? Is it positive? Is it peaceful? Is it energizing you? Do you feel drawn to it? Connected? Can you actually feel people holding your hands? Can you feel the energy flowing between us, through us? If you can, you're starting to understand that we really are one, that we're all connected. And you're starting to understand the energy that exists. And that energy can be used. And just as it can be used in the healing circle to help balance us out and bring healing, we can project it out on to the world. And without them even realizing it, everyone else on the planet can be bombarded with this powerful healing energy and reap some benefit from it. There's been cases where spiritual masters have got together in a city and done a group meditation, putting positive vibes out into the city. And suddenly there was a drop in the crime rate. And even after they stopped meditating and went back home for a day or two or three, there was a lower crime rate. That's the effect of projecting positive vibes, energy on the world. So, with that in mind, picture our planet and picture the energy, the healing circle, positive healing energy being projected onto, into, and through the planet and everyone on it. See it as bright light dispersing the darkness. See the anger and the hatred and the need for war being dispersed. See greed being dispersed. See us living as one race, the human race. Spiritual brothers and sisters on a planet we call Eden. Visualize that. See it as a reality and hold that vibe see the planet and everyone on it saturated with that vibe. Believe it to be so. And so it is. All right, slowly open your eyes. And that is it for tonight. Unless there's another question. You're all quite welcome. Oops. Sorry about that, Susan. But I will, and everyone will. We can do it in our prayers tonight before we go to bed. How's that? Since I didn't see that in time. Same with Mary. You know, you guys, I don't know if you feel me, but you're always in my prayers. I'm always sending healing energy out to you. I do it all the time. So just know that. But know that tonight we're all going to be doing that. Maybe you'll feel it hit you. Abdu says, yes, strong connection with the people that surround yourself with. Hi, Lori. Thank you. Yeah. So, I mean, and if you resonate with the material that's presented here, you can join us. Just follow the page, subscribe on YouTube, whatever you want to do. Join us here Wednesday night, 6 p.m. California time for Conscious Shifting. You can watch replays. If you go to the page and you click on it's either more or live. You either have to click more and then live, or live, I think, just on YouTube. You'll see a bunch of them come down. You can watch this stuff on all different subjects. Trey, like the powerful white healing energy. Good. Kim's reminding everybody to drink a full glass of water. You're welcome, Amy. You're welcome, Katja. Well, welcome back, Mary. Prayers up, as Trey says. All right, everybody. I honor God within you. And remember, until the next time, the only way to bring about the greater good is to be the greater good.